This is Mind Ascension as usual. I'm here with my elder brother, good brother of mine. Always have amazing conversations, amazing talks. I get a lot of wisdom, a lot of jewels from him. And I'm just glad he allowed me to share this with y'all because we are missing a big, huge part of wisdom, eldership, and respect, especially amongst the men in this current time. There's very few brothers that can go to an elder, receive information, wisdom, and experience, and change it into something not only beneficial for himself, but that he can actually pass down and spread throughout the community as well as his children. So off the bat, I just want to thank my brother right now for just giving me the opportunity to make this recording. And as usual, brother, you know how we do. We go all over the place with it. But I would like to start with the foundation of what I know you experience and what you can talk about, what I can't talk about, and what a lot of my listeners cannot talk about because we are not living in that era. You lived in the era where you had a mother and a father in a community. Matter of fact, you know what I love that you said some time ago? That you were in the projects, but you wasn't in the projects.
That's right.
I want you to expand on that, brother. Tell me what you meant by saying you were in Brooklyn. What projects was that again?
Brevoort project.
Brevoort. You was in Brooklyn, in a Brooklyn inner city project. You was poor,
That's
but
right.
didn't even know it. You said that to me one time. You said you was poor and you didn't even know it.
I wasn't aware of the poverty that I was living in till I was a teenager when I recognized it, because we had this community center and we were sitting down, and they decided with the 60s, they decided to talk to us and explain certain things to us. And when they started talking, I didn't realize that
You was part of that group that they was talking about.
I said, wait a minute. I thought we had something, but we were living in the projects.
Yes.
And it was because the people in my time did not, they did not allow their poverty or their poor state to be a part of them. They didn't flaunt it. Like now you see there are these young women who go to the store and they have those EBT cards and they flash them as if it's a badge of honor.
You're talking about there's no shame.
But
no shame.
We hid. If anybody that was on welfare, they didn't tell everybody they was on welfare. They tried to hide it. Yeah. They tried to hide it. In fact, my mother, and I'll tell you like this, we didn't have nothing, but it took my father getting injured on the job before she would accept any kind of assistance. And that was SSI. And she wouldn't accept anything that said welfare.
And now they run into it.
Yeah, now
they
it's
run
like
to it.
That's part of, where they prepare themselves for it. They decide the government's going to take care of me, and that takes away the incentive. If you know somebody's going to give you something, why should you try to get anything for yourself?
Exactly.
You don't need a skill. You don't need any of those things. But now back then, it was fashionable to be, how should I say, better than the other guy. My father's was better than your father. My mama was better than your
Notice
mother.
the first thing you said. I want to expand on that. My father was better than your father. It was a competition of pride amongst children to have parents that were idolized and looked at as icons for themselves before the celebrity came along. Is it safe to say that?
That's exactly. Because, and you talk about the father, and I never even thought about it before, but back when the father was the one that worked, the mother stayed home.
Yes.
There was very few, if there was any, in the projects, mothers who worked. The fathers would go out 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and about 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, they would all be coming in. They knew each other, they spoke to each other, and they would come in, their dinner was on the table. And it was your father who defined how great you were among your friends. If you didn't have a father, it was a shame. It was embarrassing not to have your father in the house.
Oh, boy.
So, your father defined you. And then, everybody tried to pretend they were doing better than they were.
Yes.
They didn't allow people to know how bad they were doing. My parents didn't allow us to know how poor we were.
Now, let me just interject something right here to make it clear. What we're really talking about with what you just said, the most beautiful thing you just said, is a projection of high quality despite the struggle despite the lack of. You always, no matter if you had it or not, in your era, projected a quality that was beyond material.
And it was the struggle itself that made you act that way. Because you knew you had to fight for everything, and some people didn't have to. So you had to act as if, I'm just as good with my little as you are with your lot. I know, and I know that they gave Mr. Spock the old, credit for the line of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. That was we lived like that. It was, it was whatever benefited more folks. That's what we did. When we came together, and my mother raised my friends, and their mother raised me. And anybody could
and nobody was looking for no adoption check. See, I want to expand on that one right there, because I made a post not too long ago for the women about who are you. One side said big mama and woman. The other side said hybrid and woman. Now, I like to use the term hybrid because unfortunately today our women are a mixture of man and woman. Now, you just said the mothers would take in children or would allow children to either eat at their home or just basically have a second home.
If you were there, you ate.
Now, here's the thing about it. Today, when we talk about taking in children or anything like that, the first thing I hear women jump to, foster, adoption, so on and so forth. Now, me personally, I did not live in this era, but I do know personally my aunt, who is my aunt today, but she's not blood. But because of my grandmother who took her in as a child, she will forever be my aunt by family. And the fact that there was no paperwork needed because my grandmother knew that her parents at the time were unable to care for her, and from then on she was raised by my grandmother, making her my mother's sister and making her my aunt to this day.
Now, you said that and hits right home for me. My oldest sister is not my biological sister, but she would live with my mother all her life. And we grew up, she was our sister. We didn't learn that she wasn't our biological sister until later. We, like I said, we was close to, I guess we were teenagers. But to this day, when I say my oldest sister, anybody that knows me know I'm talking about my sister Edith.
Yeah.
Now, in reality, she's not, and she had, her parents were whatever they were, but you hit it on the head. My mother recognized that her mother would not be able to take care of her. And back then, because they came from the South, they took her in and raised her as, that's the only mother that she knows.
Did they need a whole bunch of paperwork? Was they waiting for checks?
I'm going to give you this because I worked for those folks. You know who I work for.
Yes, I know.
Now, they recognize, like they always do, with things that we did for free, they recognize it as so great. And they decided they could make money off it.
Of course.
And one of the things they found out, this is where foster care came in. They saw how we took care of other folks' kids and raised them as our own and all of that. So they said, wait a minute, we can make some money off of this. So now it became a business. And they said, we'll pay people to do this. But the key is that we're only going to pay them 25% of what we're getting to keep these kids, because the Constitution, whatever that is, there's a whole lot of things in there that says that you're supposed to, every child in the country, there's a certain amount of money that's set aside for that child in the budget. I mean, you never see it, of course, in our neighborhoods, but that's what it's supposed to be. So the government, the federal government pays the state a certain amount. The state pays the city a certain amount. So now these agencies get money from the city to take care of, say, 100 kids. at $1,000 a piece. That's $100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they take those 100 kids and they pay somebody $25, $30 per kid.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're making $75,000 and giving out $25,000, or for what we did for nothing.
Naturally,
You know.
Not only that, let's add into the fact that number one, they're not doing any labor.
No.
Number two, they're really not using any expenses.
Nope.
Okay. And, number three, we are forgetting that we came from so little that these aspects that they forced upon us or introduced or indoctrinated us with, that small penny was such a big incentive,
Yes.
especially from somebody who had nothing.
Exactly.
So a lot of us jumped head first into these situations. Let me also add, by using only observation and intelligence, because I was not there, but just by thinking in my head, let's say you have 20 mothers that are naturally great mothers, the so-called old school big mama would take in anybody. Then you have those other 10 mothers that don't want a child unless they're going to get something. Those 10 mothers that actually technically are not using an unconditional love and motherhood to raise those children for the fact that they don't have parents, but instead using that state, city that you just spoke about incentive to, let's be honest, how are they really going to raise those brand new children that are under their care because of their desire for a check?
They're going to raise them without any motherly instinct, without caring. The child is not nurtured. Yeah, okay. And that is what's missing from our culture almost. It's
Now, I
almost
say
extinct.
this, the reason
There
why
is
I'm
no
saying
nurturing.
this, the reason why I'm saying this is because now I'm always talking about intelligence and observation. Now, that was the first seed that expanded into the current state that we see of these endless daycares, foster cares, where you have these single, quote unquote, independent mothers and old people that's old, not by the standards of the era that you come from, but by this modern standard, taking in kids that they barely have any concern with, looking to stack up checks, while half of these children are either being abused, being touched, or being hurt while under the care of these so-called organizations and multi-environments created by the seed of incentive that was planted long ago.
That's right.
In your era, starting, mind you, with the pure intentions of the good mothers that grew into the current state of this shut up, sit down, don't say nothing.
And now think of this. Okay, I remember when daycare centers first began, and there's a correlation between daycare centers and the disobedient, disrespectful children that nowadays they middle aged. But back then they were being taken care of, a group of them, by somebody who was getting paid to take care of them. They didn't have I had my mother at home. When I came home from school, my mother was there.
Right there, yeah.
When I got up in the morning, my mother was there. The last person I
we
saw
don't know
at
how
night
powerful that
was
is.
my mother.
That's some powerful stuff.
And my dad, I saw him at the end of the day, you know, and I knew he was getting ready to go to work in the morning, because that's when we woke up. When he was on his way out, then we were ready to go to school. That was our alarm clock. We couldn't afford an alarm clock to wake us up. There was a certain time. We was in bed a certain time. But these new so-called new age with the daycare, they saw their mothers would come and pick them up after they have been with the person that after a certain time they become attached to that person.
That's true.
Because the mother that's picking you up after she come home from work, how much time she got for you?
Not only how much time she got, let's be honest, what our teachers are, the feminine nature is not built for labor.
Not at all.
So after she works that 40-hour week, let's be honest, I know a lot of us don't want to admit it, but you don't want to be bothered with some child that got all the energy in the world now.
Exactly.
You don't want to be bothered. You want to sit down, get off your feet.
That's
you
right.
want to relax. But see, what these women are forgetting today, I noticed that women are equating financial status, money, to motherhood.
Yes.
My child wants for nothing. My child looks good. My child has new sneakers. Forgetting that the motherhood is the consistency of the nurturing, attentiveness, attention, care. Like, see what you just said, which is extremely powerful, because even myself, and I consider myself to come from a good home compared to a lot of brothers that I know. But what you just said was something that sounded so powerful to me, because I'm not gonna lie, I came home to an empty house because my mother was at work. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
No,
what you just said was so powerful to me, because I woke myself up. I walked to school by myself. My mother didn't get home till 5. Now, I was lucky enough to have a stepfather. He worked 2 jobs, so he didn't get home till a little later. But I one thing I will say that came from it is I became extremely independent, extremely fast. But see, now that you said, you know what's so powerful as we speak, brother? I feel lucky when I talk to others, but when I talk to you, I realize how much I missed. And because when I talk to others, they be like, damn, you grew up in a house? They be like, damn, you da-da-da-da-da. And I,
that's the
and
tragedy.
Listening to you had a mother 24/7. Now, my mother she was an amazing mother, but she worked.
And that's and that's the in between my time and this time. Those mothers who actually successfully raised children in that era, they should be given trophies, they should be given medals.
Need to be idolized.
Because first of all, they had no template.
No.
So nobody was raising kids the way they had to wind up raising kids.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I'm going back to one of my words, and I guess we'll get into it in another session. But defining. Now, they define success. They define motherhood by a whole different usage of words than I would have.
Yes.
I mean,
you know my word, man. It's recessive socialism, brother. It's recessive. That's all it is. It's Caucasoid nonsense.
We
man.
came up, like I said, and my mom for my mother to go out to get a job. I mean, please, come on. That was ridiculous. I expected her to be there.
Matter of fact, I'm not even to cut you. I know I keep cutting you, brother, but I want to always expand on you saying so much great stuff. Now, you see what you just said. Am I crazy? Or at one time, it was almost damn near shameful.
It was.
For a woman to be working, if not as hard as her man, harder, or to have no man and have to work for the whole family.
I'm going to tell you this. When you talk about what I've seen, I remember when women started this new thing about equality, where they started working construction jobs. Ooh. They started working all of these other. I mean, I grew up. When you got on the train, the conductor was a man.
Yeah.
The engineer was a man. Yeah. The person who built the house or was building construction was a man.
Yes.
Police were men. A policewoman was in the office.
Yes.
But now, because they want to be equal and they don't realize what they don't realize. Let me jump somewhere. Like you said, we're going to help. The women used to when your insurance company came to the house and he wrote out an insurance policy, the woman's insurance was always more expensive than the man's because the woman outlived the man. Now, but that's no longer the case.
Say that one more time, brother. One more time for the list. Say it nice and clear.
The woman's insurance was always more expensive than the man's.
Woman's insurance was higher than the man's.
Because woman outlived the man. But that's no longer the case. Because now they doing the things that men do.
They dying like us. They got the diseases like us. Their
life expectancy has been shortened. Now, what a lot of women don't realize is that the insurance companies are still overcharging them. Even though the life expectancy is no longer like they say a woman, a man. No, it's just a person.
Oh, you hit that one.
That's because the women are doing. They're not built for the stress, the strain, the aggravation. I mean, the man is built to breathe in asbestos. But now we got so many cases of mesothelioma that they got TV commercials where the lawyers are telling. Most of them are women.
Yes.
I mean, come on now.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's because they all decided they were going to do the man's job. And that was just a trick of the Caucasoid.
Yes.
Because
this is Mine Ascension as usual. I'm here with my elder brother, good brother of mine. Always have amazing conversations, amazing talks. I get a lot of wisdom, a lot of jewels from him. And I'm just glad he allowed me to share this with y'all, because we are missing a big, huge part of wisdom, eldership, and respect, especially amongst the men in this current time. There's very few brothers that can go to an elder, receive information, wisdom, and experience, and change it into something not only beneficial for himself, but that he can actually pass down and spread throughout the community as well as his children. So off the bat, I just want to thank my brother right now for just giving me the opportunity to make this recording. And as usual, brother, you know how we do. We go all over the place with it. But I would like to start with the foundation of what I know you experience and what you can talk about.